Hello, everyone. This is Raise Your Voice as part of the Fans First Sports Network. I am your host, Brett Rutherford, joined as always by my good friend and co-host Darby Robinson. We are live on youtube.com/@raiseyourvoice and also available wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching with us on YouTube, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on those notifications so you can join us whenever we go live. Also, if you love what we do here on Raise Your Voice, you can become a Raise Your Voice Patreon member for as little as $1 a month. You can click the link on the screen or go to patreon.com/raiseyourvoice, where again, memberships start as little as $1 a month. Darby, Super Bowl Sunday has come and gone, which means we're one day closer to the start of baseball season. Spring training feels like it's basically started, officially, unofficially, whatever. But before that, I want to get to your thoughts on the Super Bowl and that dominant win from the Seattle Seahawks yesterday.
Oh, yeah. I had a lot of fun. I'm a big fan. Seeing two Bucs Super Bowls where, quite dominant defensive performances. I'm a big fan of, I grew up in, 90s Bucs, so I love a good defense. And I like a defensive Super Bowl where it's like an absolute grind, brutalize, I know some people were probably finding it, but I was at my wife and I were at a Super Bowl party, and everybody, I live out in the Northwest, so everybody's Seahawks crazy out here. Their neighbors, the friends that I went to, their neighbors would fire off all throughout the season when we would watch Seahawks games. They actually would watch Seahawks games and then fire off fireworks after touchdowns. So we were ready for some of that. Didn't have to fire off too many fireworks during the game.
You might have to pivot and start doing field goals because
Jason Myers, most points ever. No, but it was a great night. It was a great night, great party, great night to be not, I guess, a New England fan, because that was a beatdown central. Like, truly, that Seahawks defense was great. Like, that was all postseason was like really, really strong, and like the only team I thought was like the real big challenge, especially seeing like with Bo Nix injured, like the AFC just kind of being a mess. Yeah. I was basically looking at like, okay, Rams Seahawks, that's the Super Bowl. The winner of that slugfest was just gonna demolish Drake, maybe as cousin Sal nicknamed him. But yeah, terrible performance by Drake May, missing open people everywhere, seeing ghosts. That Pat's line was terrible, shredded apart.
I think I underestimated how dominant the Seahawks could be. I just didn't get a lot of eyes on them throughout the season. Obviously, watched a lot of their postseason run, and really good Super Bowl. I enjoyed the defense too. And then Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP. I thought he was really going to solidify the MVP. Got called back for the hold on the one touchdown run. Would have been great, but really there was no other choice. I mean, if you could give it to the defensive line, you probably would.
The defense was tough because it's like the Bucs Super Bowl in 2002 against the Raiders, where it was sort of like
it should have probably been Rondé, but Dexter Jackson was there. Yeah,
they're like, I guess him, but like we had two Dwight Smith pick sixes in that one. You had Derek Brooks the pick six. You had Simeon Rice a sack. So yeah, it was tough because Derek Hall, Byron Murphy had a couple sacks. Yeah. Like there was just everybody. Witherspoon could have been in there. Could have given it to the punter, Michael Dixon, Australian zone. He was crushing it. If you love good special teams, you had some great field goals and punts. But yeah, really good game. Weird as shit commercials. Like every commercial was like weird. There were some good ones, but like most were bad. It was just like a lot of just crypto and AI left and right. And the halftime show, you're rocking the shirt.
Got to represent. Great halftime show.
Fantastic halftime show. Fantastic.
Yeah, just like from a production standpoint. I know, pretty much since COVID, they've shifted from, and I think it's really since Apple Music has gotten involved as well. They've shifted away from the true stage performances, and they've made it go across the whole thing. The first one I remember that was really like this was The Weeknd. in Tampa, the
Yeah,
year the
yeah,
Bucks
yeah.
won, where he like started up like on the concourse and made his way down. From a production standpoint, like I think it was the best one I've seen.
It was incredible.
And yeah, I just thought he rocked it. I mean, great cameos too. Lady Gaga, Ricky
Hmm.
Martin, like it from start to finish, it was great.
Ronald Acuna Jr., Pedro
Yeah,
Pascal, Cardi B, Jessica Alba were all kind of just there,
yeah.
but not like heavily featured, but just like hanging out in the party.
I was looking for John
And
Hamm because John Hamm's like
he was on the sideline.
he was
There's
on the
some
side. Like,
footage.
didn't
Huge
make
Bad
it into
Bunny
the
fan.
casita, but he was there on the field dancing. So, or
And
Juan
real
Hamon,
wedding.
as he calls
Real
him.
yeah,
Yes,
Juan Hamon. But that was a real wedding. I that I found out later, which was really cool. Like I guess
very
they
cool.
had like messaged Bad Bunny to like appear at their wedding, and he was like, "I'll do you one better."
Yeah, I didn't know that was an
We'll have.
option. I would have put a call in.
I know you're getting. I mean, maybe See, let's see. He has
Might have
another
saved a
one
little
in
bit of
him.
money that way. Just get us out of San Francisco.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, that was a
yeah,
great. It was a great show. It did feel like a Broadway production,
yeah.
like
No, it was great.
multiple sets and like a clear story, like a really clear story. Like whether you speak Spanish or not, like that is like clearly like this story of like Puerto Rico and him and the Americas, like
Yeah,
everybody,
yeah.
from Canada to Argentina. I thought that was a really cool. It was awesome. It
I
it
love it.
it was it was super fun. Um, yeah, and then yeah, the second half we just got it was I think I like really good Super Bowl overall. It was a good one for hate watchers too, because like all of the doubters, all of the fraud watch for New England was justified. Seattle's a pretty easy team to root for. A lot of really cool storylines there. And yeah, it was a good one. You had finally no like Kansas City Chiefs like free of that too.
Yeah,
So it was good stuff. It was good times.
definitely.
And now baseball.
Now it's time for
We are
baseball.
here. We're here.
Yeah.
Spring training and World Baseball Classic and Major
We're
League
like
season
3 weeks away from the
all
World
coming.
Baseball Classic. That's pretty insane. And we're not too far away from opening day.
Mm-mm.
And the Rays aren't done getting their roster ready for the
Mm-hmm.
2026 season. They went out and signed Nick Martinez, uh, pitcher. We'll call him pitcher. I imagine he was signed to start, at least to open the year, to a
Bob
multi-year deal.
Nightingale. Bob Nightingale did say he was signed to start, which now puts it really in doubt. Like that now, who knows? But yeah, but yes, yeah.
So
Signed.
Nick Martinez, most recently with Cincinnati, he's had a long
Mhm.
career. Spent some time in Japan, and then came back and really revitalized his major league career. And he's had a good amount of success in the 4 or 5 seasons since returning from the NPB. Darby, what was your initial reaction to the signing, and how do you think he fits into this staff?
I think it's a great signing. He's a really really solid pitcher. I think he's also shown flashes of a little bit better. Like last year was a little bit of a step down, but Cincinnati's a really tough place to pitch in, especially for a guy that doesn't get a ton of Ks. So if you're relying on defense and you're relying on keeping the ball in the park, not the best place to pitch. I think for Rays fans, it's you know Nick Martinez. His name is Zach Littell.
Yeah,
Very similar profile, like kind of a toolbox pitcher, a lot of different stuff, really strong changeup. He's kind of a tinkerer as well. So I think that's somebody that anytime you have a pitcher with multiple pitches that have that has tinkered and has like kind of reinvented themselves, I think the Rays tend to do really well with that because that means they're kind of like open to like what's let's open the hood. Let's I'm also, there if you're an active participant in the craft, I think that's where Kyle Snyder works best with, somebody that's not going to be like, yeah, it's a cool story. I'm just going to throw my fastball and cutter and, deal with it. I think he's receptive, I think that he was one of the guys that I think was really high. I know Danny Russell, our editor in chief, fearless leader. He's been high on Nick Martinez for years. I think he wanted him coming back from Japan when
yeah,
San Diego got him. He was one of my top kind of guys. I thought like him and Chris Bassett or reuniting with Zach Littell, I thought would have been the kind of the perfect capper on, like we talked about. Like, I think coming into the season there was a lot of talk about like the Rays needing that extra pitcher, and they got Steven Matz, who I think is we talked about him like really solid again, like kind of toolbox guy. But it still felt like, I liked where they were at, but there's still like that just concerns with like Rasmussen health and Shane McClanahan coming back and Steven Matz coming back into a starting rotation. Like, is he gonna be able to do
Maybe.
that? Like I think
Maybe
there's like
Match gets pushed into more of a bullpen role now.
or Martinez, who's worked
Yeah.
out of the pen with them. I think contract wise, you would think that like, because it's 1 year, 13 mil for Martinez, that's back end starter. That's what everybody's been getting, basically. I it's one of those things though that I think with Matz and Martinez as your back as your 4-5, I think you just feel much more confident about this rotation because if they need to elevate and step up, that's fine. Or if guys win jobs, if like Ian Seymour has an amazing camp, or if Joe Boyle just comes in and he's dot in the strike zone, maybe they shift to a kind of a Colin McHugh multi-inning bullpen role. Like they can do multiple types of things. They're not just like this is the one thing they can do. Like Zach Littell or like Chris Bassett, both guys that have like kind of done that. So Martinez was high on my list. I thought, the Rays being tighter on payroll. I thought like Chris Paddock, who also signed today with Pete Bendix's Marlins, was like kind of an option, but I'm really glad that they were able to kind of spend up a little bit more to get, I think, just a higher tier of pitcher. I think Martinez is a guy that if you're asking him to throw 150 innings, I think you're pretty happy with that. Whereas Chris Paddock, I think you need to do a lot of work to get to back to that and he's always had some really rough health issues, so I'm not sure if he has that anymore. But I like spending up a little bit more, getting that higher tier guy, and I think Martinez is like a perfect like kind of. The Rays are never finished, but like seemingly the finishing move of the early off season.
Yeah,
Or the late off season.
I think there's only one other position that they would add at the major league level, and that's catcher. If they
Yeah.
could work out a trade maybe for a catcher, but I feel like they're going to be less trigger happy. Like if this is the team going into the start of the season, then that's the team, and we'll make it work. We've talked on this podcast like the Rays needed innings, and even after the signing of Steven Matz, who again it looks like he's going to start, but he might not start the whole year. You might end up trading a guy like him. You might end up trading a guy like Martinez at some point, depending how the season is going and how he's doing. Veteran on a short deal. It makes sense though to get both of these guys, and you're going to pay them a combined $20 million this season. And if you could get anywhere from 250 to 300 innings between the two of them, I think that's mission accomplished. And
Totally.
I think you have a pretty good idea of what their floor looks like as big league pitchers. I think their experience does matter, right? Especially when you're talking about a back end, a rotation that was going to be, filled with Joe Boyle and Ian Seymour. And I know we'll see those guys feature. To what extent now, I don't know. Like their roles are a little more unclear. I think the path to Joe Boyle pitching as a starter in the big leagues this year just got tougher. But I think other people have said this, but Dave Wells used to say this a lot. Just when you think you have enough pitching, go out and sign some more. And it's what the Rays did here with Martinez. I'm not like in love with the Nick Martinez profile. He is older. He is coming off of his worst season since he came back from Japan. The whiff is obviously way down, but he does have a wide arsenal. I think he's going to pitch. He's got a high floor as a big league pitcher. I am a little sad though. Again, I don't know what's going on in these discussions. I was really hoping we'd get a late offseason Zach Littell signing. I would have loved to have Zach Littell back. And I'm sure to some extent those discussions happened. Zach Littell's still out there on the open market though. So I'll be curious to see what he gets compared to a Nick Martinez. Because kind of similar, right? Like you said, similar profiles.
Yeah.
Littell
Younger.
maybe looking for more years.
Yeah.
Maybe looking for that sizable multi-year contract before he gets into it. Martinez has gotten paid. Like he's coming off a year, he made $21 million. He gets $13 million guaranteed with an option for more next year. So this seems like a good pillow contract for Nick Martinez. But I would be disappointed if like the Rays just never even considered bringing Zach Littell back and they went to Nick Martinez. I don't even know who's the better pitcher. I just like Zach Littell a lot.
That's fair.
But
With,
yeah,
with
I mean, is he like so? The rotation now,
mhm.
we know obviously Rasmussen, Pepio, McClanahan. Like, we don't really know. We'll talk about kind of his health. We don't really know a whole lot,
Mhm.
but we're expecting him to pitch at the start of the season. I think.
I think until otherwise told, I'm putting it in pencil. Like
As
I'm
a
just
yeah.
assuming that he is going to be healthy and be in the rotation to start the season until otherwise stated. I'm keeping on the optimistic side, but until they say like he's shut down or we have to like this isn't like he's until there's a timetable where he's not pitching, I'm saying I'm penciling him in. I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, so then you've got Nick Martinez, and then like I don't know. I guess I am curious where this leaves Ian Seymour and Joe Boyle. Are they going to
Hmm.
AAA? Because you also, in a trade much earlier this offseason, you have guys like Yoendrys Gomez and Steven Wilson, guys that can go
Hmm.
multiple innings out of the bullpen. Do they see Seymour as a future starter? Are they want to gonna keep him stretched out in AAA? Same with Joe Boyle. Joe Boyle does have an option, right? I'm not making that up.
Yes,
Okay.
Boyle. Wilson has three options remaining still.
Oh, that's curious. That I
It's
don't know if they're an option.
Euendris Gomez is out of options. So
Okay.
to keep him, you would have to keep him on the roster. And Cole Sulser, it's unknown. He has no options left, but I believe he was signed to, and we were kind of talking about this in the Slack. I believe he was signed to a two-way kind of deal so that he could start the season. This was
Hmm.
from Steve Kinsella, that it was like a split deal, so he could basically start the year in Durham and then probably has an opt-out date, like when like basically he has to be added or he gets
Interesting.
to be a free agent.
Yeah.
So Solser is one that's like probably not on the major league roster. Gomez, I think we'll see. I think the answer I think really is like the spring camp battle. I think that's like truly one that is going to be open to like pitching, right? I think Boyle's had experience out of the pen, so is Seymour. There is only one lefty in the Rays pen right now, and that's Garrett Clevenger. So like maybe Seymour goes to the pen instead, or maybe it's Steven Matz. Like maybe it's Matz into the pen. There was a lot of talk that he wanted to have a chance to start. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's a really interesting like if you're starting the season and Joe Boyle and Ian Seymour are going to Durham, they're pitchers 6 and 7. That's still a pretty good spot because again, you have to be a little curious about what Shane
Yeah.
McClanahan can do. Whether in terms of if he is healthy, there's going to be an innings restriction. So that's where maybe you have a piggyback for him, right? Like maybe he is a 3-4 inning guy rather than a multi inning guy, like a true starter. Or or you have an issue where it's like somebody out of camp is not looking that hot, or you need to have Steven Matz like come back or just slide to the pen. So I think the variety of options there are going to be kind of the key. There you're going to need to have variety. You're going to need to have basically options, and I think having multiple guys that you can count on to start is huge. It's huge to get through a full grind of a season, and I think Martinez is just gives you that option. He just gives you another option there, and I think Ian Seymour and Joe Boyle both have question marks. I'm pretty high on both, especially Ian Seymour. I think he is a kind of a crafty guy. I think he could have a really good season. But if you're getting to spread those innings around, I like he's gonna pitch, right? Like the Rays last year was a kind of a fluky year where you lost Shane McClanahan, but then still had like basically five starters go like almost the entire season fully healthy. That's
Yeah.
pretty rare for anybody. So I think you kind of have to plan for at least seven guys that you feel comfortable getting multiple starts, right? Not like a spot start, but like if you have to start this guy for like a month every fifth day, do you feel like you can at least do an opener and
Right.
type of thing, or he can get bulk innings for every fifth day? And I think this just adds that pushes you down to seven. that you feel comfortable with.
Okay, I don't know if this is breaking news, but I want to share this because it was just brought to my attention that the promotional schedule is out for this season.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I'm going to pull it up here for our YouTube viewers.
Love it.
I mean, this first one in April, well, we got the schedule magnet and then the Tropicana Field Tour tee, which I don't know, it looks kind of like the Bad Bunny tour shirt that I'm rocking right
I was
now.
about to say, yeah.
That looks awesome. It's also got like the Bucks colors. Can I zoom in on that?
Here we go. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Nope, that went too
Sort
far.
of.
Anyways, you can see it here. It's got like Bucks colors on it, creamsicle
It's kind of
colors.
creamsicle.
A
Oh,
replica light up Tropicana Field. Oh, that is a must get. Here we go. Some big bobbleheads coming up. Jonathan Aranda bobblehead in the throwback uniforms, looking good.
mm-hmm.
Junior Caminero bobblehead with
City
the City
Connects.
Connects. A jersey jacket, and then Chandler Simpson bobble legs. I don't know if I've
Oh,
seen that before. Bobble legs.
that's
That is
new.
incredible. In June, so maybe not doing that early in the season if you don't
Oh,
know if he is going to be on the team.
yep.
But
Yep.
Chandler Simpson bobble legs, an Evan Longoria snapback, and an Evan Longoria bobble card. Don't know how that
Bubble
works, but it looks like it's in a
card.
box. Like
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah. That's also
Interesting.
seems new. Ooh, that
The
snapback.
the snapback looks pretty clean, looks sharp, and
Nice.
then a Raymond shoulder plush. I don't know what a shoulder plush is.
I
What a
think
plush.
when I was in Disney last, there was a bunch of it's like a little magnet you can
Okay.
put on underneath, so it like snaps it too. Everybody had like stuff on their
Ah,
shoulders. They
cool,
had like a
cool.
Remy. I saw people with a Remy from
Uh,
Ratatouille, and I thought that's very clever.
we're going bobble heavy this year. So we got the
A
City Connects
patch
patch
button up.
button up. That'll
We don't know
that
yet.
sounds
We don't know
valuable.
yet.
A Flappy Boy bobble. Listen, not for me, but I'm sure people like it. This
Somebody's gonna love
windbreaker
that.
though, this windbreaker, I would love to get one of those. And then the hockey jersey with that
Throwback.
throwback logo that has got the modern colors on it. Well, some of them plus a little bit of green. I don't know if they've used that
A
mark a
lot of
whole
that
lot
one.
with those colors. So that's interesting. That's the last one of the season. The bobbleheads look really good.
Yeah,
All of these look great. The
these look
junior,
great.
the Jonathan Aranda one, I love. I'm interested to see
The
the
bobble
mechanics
legs.
of the bobble legs. I don't
The little
know
like
how that's gonna work, but I don't know. That's exciting. I
oh,
always loved the release of the promotional schedule, so
love that.
had to break in there. But yeah, Nick Martinez, I feel like that's a good signing. I don't know if it's gonna like make waves this season. I don't know. Like, is Nick Martinez going to start a postseason game for you? I don't know. We'll see. There's a long way. You got to get
We'll
there
cross
first.
that bridge when we get
Yeah,
to it.
you got to get there first, and he might help you get there. So that's the most important thing. I want to kind of transition into some spring training storylines, and actually, no, let's get into stadium renderings first, and then we'll finish the show with spring training storylines.
Yes.
I probably should have had these ready to pull up, but Darby, talk to me about what your thoughts are on the stadium renderings.
Okay. It's just straight up. I think it is precisely what I was kind of hoping they would go for, right? Like we knew it was not going to be retractable roof, and I did not really want a retractable roof. I think it's too expensive, and you don't really get any use out of it. Like the Miami Stadium is like open like maybe 6 times during the season.
Right.
The look of it, though, I will say this is exactly what I was hoping for. I have talked about SoFi Stadium and US Bank Park in Minnesota. So SoFi in LA, the Rams and Chargers home, and US Bank, which is the Minnesota Vikings home. Gorgeous dome stadiums with a ton of glass, natural light, a glass clear top, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is perfect. It's the perfect blend of being able to get those beautiful Florida sun, but also imagine a beautiful thunderstorm and lightning coming down above, like cresting on that stadium roof. Like
Yeah.
fantastic. The best of the outside with the comforts of actually being indoors and not in the sweltering heat and humidity during August baseball. I love it. I love it. It's a very modern look. It does not have that retro ballpark look, which I also do love. But I think this is a brand new area, right? Like if this development goes about, you are creating everything new, everything fresh. This is not an existing neighborhood. Like this maybe not would not look as good in Ybor, right? Like where you have a lot of like historic buildings. You maybe want something like City Field, which is a reference to Ebbets Park. But this is a brand new development in a brand new area, replacing, tennis courts and parking lots. So I like the modern look of it. Very fresh, very modern, very much remnant of SoFi Stadium, but in I think the best way.
Yeah,
What are
I
your
think
thoughts?
the outside, I do understand when people say it looks a little greenhouse like. I am curious to see like what goes on the inside. So if you see like in this rendering, like the field is like over here. So like this is the field, and then like what's going on this side of the building? That's what I'm really curious about. Like, is that going to be part of the fan experience? Is this where offices are going to be? Is there going to be entertainment? I'm curious to see like what it goes on the inside. But going back to kind of the aerial of the whole project, I mean, you can see how expansive it is, taking up
Hmm.
this entire property while still, leaving the Yankees a little cutout where they are in the northeast corner of the land. One thing that really stood out to me are these walkways over across Dale Mabry,
Yes.
over
Yes.
by Ray J. I'm very curious to see what the Rays do in terms of parking, if they work
Hmm.
together with the Bucks and figure out parking solutions. Right now, almost all the parking around Ray J, they've got the big grass lots, and then people kind of find parking in the surrounding neighborhood around Raymond James Stadium. I'm curious to see what the Rays do because I immediately identify any parking in this rendering.
Hmm.
These buildings right here, like, might be some, but I don't know how much that could hold. I couldn't tell if those were what type of buildings those were.
Right.
So there's a lot of logistics, obviously, but the renderings, these are just renderings. We don't know what the project's gonna look like. I do think, like walking up to the ballpark, in something that looks like this is exactly what we were hoping for. Lots
Hmm.
of things to do, places to stop in. Um, this looks great. You've got all three of your mascots here. Looks like some AI generated stuff, which, like, okay, whatever. That's the world we live in now. So yeah, we love renderings. Here we got Hillsborough College and how they're going to be integrated into all of this. That looks great. You got college students. You make it look walkable, and you got bikes, and
Hmm.
that makes people happy. So yeah, I wasn't like blown away. I wasn't ecstatic about these renderings. I do get what people are saying about it looking like a greenhouse. I do want to see what it looks like when this is all said and done. But yeah, it it's sharp. It's sharp. The shape of the building, right, is like look like a baseball diamond or also maybe a ray, right? It's
Yeah.
got that
Yeah.
that triangular shape. So exciting. It's exciting. And again, another step in the process that we've been through before. We've seen renderings. We've gotten excited.
Hmm.
We even had ones for the Ybor ballpark. I didn't love those. Those looked like really weirdly futuristic. I did love the ones for the St. Pete ballpark. Not the sailboat from many years ago, but
Although
the
I did
most
love
recent one.
those.
The sailboat was great
I did
too,
love the sailboat.
at
Yeah.
Al Lang. But yeah, this is it's exciting. It's exciting to see what it could look like.
Hmm. Yeah. I think the vision seems quite exciting, quite good. I like the idea of a big mixed use development where you have, like the battery and besides the battery, like the waterfront in DC, like that's a pretty good example, not necessarily of like it's not all baseball related, but it's the park built there and then you've built out like a lot of other things kind of developing around that to like create like this kind of cohesive area. I think there's some real value to that, to like creating a place to stay and play. And like we talked about last time, like the idea of potentially a thing that like the park itself might be dormant, but the rest of the development will have a great place to come, get a beer, get some food before a Bucks game or after a Bucks game.
Yeah.
The stadium could be great to host a World Baseball Classic or
Mm.
hockey stadium series,
Concerts.
concerts. Yeah, like there's some real value there to having a very fresh new entertainment space that that can service multiple things. So
Yeah.
it's still early process, a lot of hurdles. We don't even have the funding like plans yet. We have just the estimate of what the cost will be, although the county commissioners have said like that's not even the final cost, and we don't know exactly how much the Rays are expected to pay. The talk is at least 50% plus all cost overruns, but and future maintenance and future repairs and future renovations. But like exactly, is it 50.1%? Is it 60%? Is it 80%? Like what we have no idea. So right now it's cautiously optimistic because I do think this group deserves a fresh shot. I think we have both as fans, we like I understand the sense of like I can't get excited for more
Right.
stadium renderings. And like seeing them all laid out like over the years is like, man, that's a lot of renderings for no developments for like 20 years of just like not like, Don Quixote chasing windmills here. But this is not the next set of renderings from this group, right? Like Stu is gone, and those were his renderings.
Hmm.
That was his team. That was his group. This is a brand new group. Everybody in that board is different. Everybody at the table is different. All the decision makers on the Rays are different on the business side of things. And so I do feel like this is as much as it's hard for fans to not feel the drama and the pressure of the past, weighing on us and the baggage of that, it is not great to bring that into a next relationship, and that is what this is basically I'm not going to be suspicious or cautious or even judgmental until you give me a reason to be. And so right now, I think Zalupski and Babby and Cosgrove and the whole group have not had a misstep yet. I think they've hit like every mark really well. Uh, we will see if they keep on doing that. Like I think if they do, great. And if this turns out to be a good deal for both the county, the city, and the team, I hope it is.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. We learned a little bit more about funding, and I don't know like when the next thing we'll hear is. We're going to talk a lot more about baseball now that we're into spring training, but we will keep you guys updated with whatever we hear on the stadium news. So, heading into spring training, I do feel like we talked a little bit about the starting rotation, but I want to talk a little bit more about some other storylines, some other things to watch for Rays fans. One, and this is topical today with some news that I learned today, although apparently it's been floating around for a few days now. Chandler Simpson, right? Chandler Simpson is a player who I was never really sold on him as like a prospect. He came up last year. Then I advocated for, all right, just give him a shot. All these outfielders get hurt early on in the season. Like, let's just let him play. We saw him play. We saw all of the things that make us excited about Chandler Simpson as a prospect and as a player. And then we also saw, maybe his biggest red flag, and that's his defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the bottom line, and you can tell that by the moves the Rays have made this offseason, is that Chandler Simpson, if he is going to play on the Rays regularly, he needs to improve his defense. And I learned today that Kevin Kiermaier has been hired as a consultant by the Rays. Ryan Bass put that out today, and Ryan Bass mentioned in his tweet that he will work with Chandler Simpson among others on their defense. And this is notable to me. I think it shows that however Ryan Bass came to that conclusion that one of Kevin Kiermaier's focuses is going to be Chandler Simpson. I don't know. Part of me just thinks that's the team saying, yeah, we're bringing him in. He's going to work with Chandler. He's going to work with everybody, but he's really going to work with Chandler. That's a promising sign, I think, right? Like I don't know what else to read into that other than okay, they're putting serious work and thought into how are we going to get Simpson better prepared in the outfield for this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, it's fun to bring KK back. That's a fun, kind of old friend alert there. But Chandler, the thing is with Simpson that makes him so intriguing and why you can't really quite quit on him, even though his skill set is like not one of my favorites. It is that if he's just the speed is so good that you think there is like a potentially good outfielder there.
Yeah,
Like we
saw it last year.
can't teach speed.
It was
like
an
that.
Aaron Judge, like absolute laser to center field that Simpson got to, and it was over his head, and he got to it, and he dropped it. And I was like, man, he dropped that ball, but no one else in baseball even gets anywhere near that ball. And I want the
Right.
guy that can get to that ball, and he's really the only one that can.
Exactly. And like he doesn't have the arm. So like Kevin Kiermaier, one of the things about him was he was speed, like incredible like ability to overcome routes and then also a cannon, an absolute cannon arm.
Mm-hmm.
Chandler doesn't have that cannon arm. Like it's a really really bad arm. But the speed is there. And so like man, if he can just like figure out these routes, not take, bad routes, make those catches. Like there is potentially a good outfielder in there. And if his defense can elevate from atrocious to meh, now that would take him into being like a quite a valuable
Yeah.
like player. Like the his legs will generate a ton of skill on the bases. His bat and contact rate, like he needs to get on base a bit more. He needs to walk a bit more, but like it's not far off. And like in his rookie year, he did pretty well. Like he almost hit 300, which it kind of shows the limitations of 300 as a baseline, but it's not Luis Rise where all you have is weak singles. It's Luis Rise if he could be also have the second tool.
Mm-hmm.
and so I think those two tools are unique. They're interesting, and it's worth exploring for sure. What I've noticed though, and this actually comes to like part of a question that we got in the chat here from our friend Elijah, but everywhere I've listened to from Mark Topkin, Adam Barry, Brian Bass, like kind of everybody in the Rays media like orbit have talked about two things that have opened my eyes. One, like Carson Williams probably gonna start the season in Durham.
Yeah.
Taylor Walls there in the starting, and Chandler Simpson starting in left field start the season. It's not been like, well, he in line for, inside path to lead. It's been pretty definitively like, well, we know Chandler Simpson's there. We know Cedric Mullins is there. We know Jake Fraley's there. And Johnny DeLuca is probably your fourth. And then we don't know who's that fifth. Maybe Ryan Valade, maybe Justin Henry Malloy. Like there's some Jacob Melton, with a big hot can. Like there's other guys that could be in that race. But Chandler's been consistently not listed as like one of the fringe guys. I don't know if I believe it, but I am starting to take note that so many people that hear things directly from the team, and some of them being team employees, like Chris Adams Wall, like it makes me start to think like, okay, Chandler Simpson probably has a better handle on this job than you think. And again, not to look at promotion things do not matter because again, Brett Phillips famously cut the day before or the day after his t-shirt. Was it a t-shirt or a shirtsy or something? So famously, I would not read too much into the promotional schedule, but you also kind of read a little bit into it. Like Chandler is a very popular player. He was kind of a fan favorite. He is an exciting player to watch. So maybe like he's getting his own bobble. Like I don't know. Like
So with you, the way you bring up certain players depends on how you view their long-term role, right? So like Carson Williams, you could justify him being on the team in a part-time role, right? Just based on who he is as a player today. But you want him to be your starting shortstop at some point. So you don't put him in a bench role when he could play every day in Durham. You want him to come up and play. The question I have is I don't know if Chandler Simpson's ever going to be an everyday player. And does he need to be an everyday player to extract the most value out of him? Or can he be a guy that doesn't play every day, but comes in as a pinch runner? Or, he's a lefty, but he doesn't really have splits. So maybe he is an everyday player, but is he valuable if he's hitting ninth for you? Or does he need to lead off? And does that hurt your lineup if his OBP runs low because he doesn't walk a lot and he has no power? And even though he steals a ton, does he steal enough in today's game, right, where, a lot of guys could steal. Josh Naylor stole how many bases last year, right? Like stolen bases don't come at a premium anymore. So how valuable is Simpson compared to other players? I'm not saying this to knock Simpson. I think there's room for improvement. He's an incredible athlete, and I believe he will improve. But to what extent, and how do the Rays see him? Because if you don't see him as like the left fielder of the future, or the center fielder of the future, or like a starter long term, right? Then you kind of just want to play him, right? Like, all right, he's going to make the team. We're going to play him. We're going to see how it goes. And if it doesn't work, like he's got to earn it, right? He can go back down at any point during the season. Or maybe he gets relegated to a bench role in, you play a Jake Fraley more, right? So
right.
I just don't know how they view Chandler Simpson, and they might not know, right? Like they might say, yeah, if everything goes right, this guy's going to start for us, but we're not convinced yet. He's got to show us. So I have no idea what chance. So I think early spring training lineups, or not early, once you get to like mid spring training where you start to see some lineups about, okay, this is how they're viewing the roster. That'll be really telling with Chandler Simpson. So let's try to get to Elijah's question. I mean, I think if I had to take a guess, I'm going Mullins, Fraley, DeLuca, Simpson, and Vlade.
That's mine. That's mine as well.
Yeah,
that's mine as well.
So I think Melton.
Yes,
and
Malloy,
Victor Mesa.
Oh, Victor Mesa. Yeah, we should talk about that. Like, actually, I mean, that's an interesting trade because the Rays traded something of value.
Yeah,
like an actual prospect. I mean, not a top 30 guy, but like a decent little prospect there. And Victor Mesa Jr., not to confuse with Victor Mesa or Victor Mesa Sr.
Yeah, Victor Mesa.
His brother, his older brother, who is also like one of the top, he was like one of the biggest like international signings at the time.
That also leaves off Richie Palacios if you consider an outfielder. There's still also potentially room for him.
Who is also like a potential guy. Like we talked about Bill Williamson, like maybe taking that role. Like Palacios played a lot of outfield, even some center field.
But you need to have right-handed hitters, so Vlade crosses that box, and you also have Justin Henry Malloy,
who has an option. Vlade doesn't. That's where.
And
that's
so
my big thing is early season options. But that's my thing is like I'm starting to think. Well, Mullins and Fraley, I think Mullins is a lock, obviously. Fraley, I think I'm going to have to see somebody, you would have to see like a ton of people just like really surge ahead in the spring. And then you maybe just trade Fraley or DFA him and like, get a cash considerations from a team that like needs like a fourth outfielder. 3 million is not like a sticking point. Like that's not like you can move on from that. Mullins is clearly here. Like that was a bigger target. That's like a real like that is your starting center field or left fielder. Like if Melton's up there, you think he's the better defender. But Mullins is a guy you want as like a leader in the clubhouse. Like he's a top tier. Like I mean that's like one of his biggest strengths is that he is a guy who's done a lot of winning baseball. He's been around a lot of guys of a lot of different ages, and he's been a leader. He's been a captain type. So I think you really need him. I still think like that you have an interesting pile of guys, and I do think there is a open job there. I don't think Ryan Valade is a lock for this roster.
No.
I think right now, if you had to, and you did, and Elijah asked, if I had to pick, I think I put Valade in there, maybe because Ben has just like been incepting us for the last like 3 months, and now I'm like, I can't not leave off Ryan Valade. He's the best player we have.
And listen, the reality is, no matter who we had projected for last year's outfield, it was all thrown in the trash by
Three people got hurt immediately.
This is before any injuries, before spring injuries. Like a lot can still change, but that's why it's tough.
But there is an interesting list of guys who have options, who are on the 40 man, who are not in our list, and neither of our lists, and that's Justin Henry Malloy, right-handed bat, who actually has had some pretty good major league success against left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
Like he's got a bat that can actually play. Victor Mesa Jr. has been injured a lot, but has shown some really good minor league numbers. I think he is interesting. He's not higher on the list, but I think like he might get some play. Like he was a top 30 organizational prospect for a pretty good while. Like he was a legit prospect, and has had some legit good minor league numbers. And then you have guys like Jacob Melton, who is a big target. Like he is going to be up this season at some point. It could be a guy that, like, I mean, Eric Nander said they view him as a 20-40 guy, 20 home run, 40 stolen base guy. Like that's high praise, right? They're saying him as like, Kevin Kiermaier, but with the better bat. Like that's a lot of high praise for him. And when Neander usually, puts a lot of praise out there, you kind of have to take notice. And Richie Palacios is like a guy that's like, he's been really good when he's been healthy, and he just has not been healthy. And like, I think there's a pretty good player there. I just don't know if there's room. Like he ran out of room in St. Louis because they had too many young outfielders. And then with the Rays, like he's just been hurt, but like,
and was it a direct quote from Neander that Palacios has to prove healthy?
I think so.
So to me, that's like a message of like, all right, you're going to go to AAA because we brought in these other guys, and you might be our next man up, right? If somebody goes down, if you lose a Taylor Walls, he could take that kind of role where he bounces around the infield, or if Fraley gets hurt, you could easily replace him with Palacios, because then Palacios does give you another guy that can play outfield and also second base, maybe a little bit of third base. But yeah, I think to me that's a pretty clear indication that like Palacios is not the top guy for the job right now, which I've been a Palacios fan. So I think like it's a good sign that he's going to AAA. Like that, I do feel like a little bit deeper. You're talking about the guys that are going to be, on the bubble, and all of these guys have had big league experience. Like last year, we were looking at the depth guys were Chandler, who hadn't played in the big leagues, Jake Mangum, who was 29 years old and hadn't played in the big leagues, Cameron Meisner, Tristan Peters.
Yeah.
I think this group is better than that.
Yes.
So
100%.
That's a win for the offseason.
Whether they will be better performers,
sure,
we don't know. But like at the baseline, I feel much more confident.
Yeah, Valade's been in the big leagues. He hasn't performed really. Malloy has shown some. He's never really. He's shown some promising things in the big league.
Yeah.
So yeah, and
like
Mesa Jr. I think is again maybe at the bottom of this depth chart, but man, he's shown promise too.
When Victor Mesa Jr. is replacing Tristan Peters,
Yeah.
right? Like that's that role. Like that's huge, right? Like you needed to bring in like Travis Jankowski just to like get a serviceable outfield option in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that it was dire very quickly. And I think Johnny DeLuca is what Richie Palacios would be if Richie was right-handed.
Yeah.
Like I think Johnny DeLuca is a guy who also I'm very high on Johnny DeLuca. I know you're not as hot. You're not as big of a DeLuca guy. I
Nope.
am. Went to University of Oregon. I've watched him for
No,
a
no, no.
while. I really, really like him. Oh,
DeLuca, I will say, DeLuca, I've said if he is like your fourth or fifth outfielder, like playing on the short side of the platoon, you're just using him for his defense. I'm fine with that. If he's your everyday
okay.
center fielder, I have issue with that.
Okay. I think that. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
And
I
last year
I
they went into the
think,
year with him as the everyday center fielder.
and that did not work out
Yeah.
at all. I think that is true. I think going forward, like him as your fourth outfielder, I think is really, really good. I think that's exactly where you'd want to be. I like him quite a bit. Uh, I think he could actually be a starting. Like I think he could be Harrison Bader, like legitimately. But
Okay.
he's gotten hurt twice in two chances. Same with Richie. Like, and I think that is, that's a big thing. Like that was a big opportunity last year that was missed by some of these guys. Like Jonathan Aranda took advantage of it. He cemented himself as a locked in starting first baseman for this team, core player. Guys like I think like Chandler Simpson, I think while he did not lock himself in as a guaranteed starter, I think did enough enough good to show like he's getting the first roll,
Mm-hmm.
of the dice there. And so I do think the rest of the outfield did not show like they got rid of everybody else because they were like, all right, we've seen enough. We did not get to see enough of DeLuca or Palacios. What we did see from them was really good. Like they played like a handful of games. They were really good in those games and then were hurt. And then they came back and they got hurt again. And so I do think that was a big missed opportunity last year. Like we could be coming into this year and Palacios, I mean, honestly, there's a sliding doors moment where Palacios stays healthy and Gavin Lux is never traded for. Like because Richie
Yeah.
Palacios is your starting second baseman. And you still get Ben Williamson to be his platoon partner, but you are saying, we don't need that. But Lux is but I think that was the offseason. And I think that showed exactly like you're saying. Johnny DeLuca is not your number one option anymore. You're like, nope, let's get Cedric Mullins.
Mm-hmm.
That guy stays healthy. He's a vet. Let's get Jake Fraley instead of Josh Lowe. Josh Lowe gets hurt. Jake Fraley stays healthy. That's the higher floor guy. We know what Jake Fraley does. He's a professional baseball outfielder who hits right-handed pitching and doesn't blow out his oblique every other day. You look at Gavin Lux. You might say like, well, he kind of never hit the highs of being a top 25 prospect like he was at one point, but really solid 1.5 to 2 win player who's been able to play outfield poorly when asked, but much better at second base, stayed healthy. I mean, he's been hurt a lot too, but like when he's been back, like he stayed more healthy than Richie Palacios. I think that just showed like they were like, okay, Palacios and DeLuca weren't traded or cut because they're better than Christopher Morel and Cameron Meisner and Jake Mangum. But they are not they are on the bubble because of that, because the best ability is availability. And
So
and those guys really kind of blew that opportunity last year, but they still have that chance. Like they are I don't think the Rays have given up on them, but I think they have realized that they cannot trust them.
yeah, with Simpson on the roster though, it does feel like you start to tilt a little bit more to left-handed again. Like
It does.
when they brought in Lux, I'm like, okay, maybe the outfield's good. You can have DeLuca, and you could have Valade, and now you've got Williamson, so there's a little bit more right-handed balance. So now I don't know, is it trending to left-handed? We talked about Jake Fraley. Could you maybe flip him at the end of spring training for someone else's backup catcher that you think is an upgrade over one of Fiducia or Fortes?
Sure,
Um,
sure.
like a Ben Red type trade?
Or a like interesting single A reliever.
Sure. Well, that's
Like
probably more
that's
likely.
your classic. high slider Ks with
But you
no
could run into that trade where the Yankees had too many catchers going into the
true.
season, and
Yeah.
they needed a piece. And hey, we've got this catcher. We're gonna just cut him. You're just gonna cut this guy. Why don't we work a deal out
We'll just
here?
move these guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally. I think Jake Fraley, I mean, like he was cut once. So I don't think the Rays are like, this is our plan A. Jake Fraley is going to have a monster 2026.
He's an insurance plan.
I think Jake Fraley, it's still very weird. Jake Fraley was signed, cut, or he was a waiver claim, cut, signed to a major league deal to a guaranteed $3 million that you're now on the hook for, that you weren't on the hook for when he was on your roster.
Yeah.
It's still, that to me still, I'm like, I don't know the mechanics of that, but it's interesting. It's the Brian Windhorse. I'm just in my head. I'm just, why did they do that? I'm curious about that. So I do think he is on the bubble of the guys that I think are over the line right now, because you've cut him once before. You were like, I don't think he is, I'm comfortable not having him and then bringing him back. So I think he is there, but I agree. I think you could see him be a trade if you're like, I really, really want Richie Palacios on this roster, or you're like Justin Henry Malloy has a monster spring, and you're like, we know this guy has the ability. He's 25, I think 26. Like he is a guy that you could have a prime breakout like right there. Like this is a guy that you absolutely could see as a breakout candidate. I don't know. I do think that's the interesting thing. But right now, if the question today is, I think those are the guys that have the pole position. But this is going to be the most exciting, I think, of the spring battles to me, because it's not a matter like there is, I think, people who they've raised the floor on the outfield, but I think there's a ceiling that could be raised in spring with some of these guys that are right now probably on the outside looking in, but could be good.
So we're also in non-roster invitee season. So I imagine there might be a few more guys on this list that are they get added to this list, maybe externally. I'm just going to run through a few here. Like there's a lot of catchers. I think there's going to be 7 catchers in camp. You've got the 3 on your 40-man, Fiducia, Fortes, and Keegan. And then Blake Sable comes in. You've got Logan Driscoll, Tatum Levins, and Kenny Piper are like your internal catchers. A lot like, and all of those guys are all like AAA level. You're not going to keep all 4 of them. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be some shuffling there, maybe a release. Blake Sable, like, is there any way he works his way onto this team?
I mean, sure. I don't know if the
It
Rays
feels like
even know what they want to do with the catcher. Like I would say no, because you went out and traded Siranowski for Hunter Fiducia, and that's your lefty catcher. And you basically said that like you think now he could go to AAA, but like you went out and made like a legitimate trade with a big time prospect that you just got.
Yeah, do you trust them that they know what they're doing with catchers, to know that like maybe they don't like Fiducia anymore?
But that's my thing. Like I don't know that, but I would like to see them at least be like, I would like to see them be like, they can be wrong, but what changed in the time you did that trade? Like 2 months of Hunter Fiducia, and you're like, I'm out. There's I think there is that whatever the problem is with catcher, I do think this is a front office like blind spot. Like that I will say. Like, I'm just gonna straight up. And I like this is not me trying to be like they don't know what they're doing. But I'm the most confused by their process when it comes to catcher. And not so much like why haven't you found the guy that's good, but more just like what is the process of like we're taking a top, like potentially 20 organizational guy. We're trading it for this guy who has a lot of great underlying numbers in AAA. He's great glove. The bat could be really huge, tons of walk rate. Okay, cool. Got it. You signed Danny Jansen. You're like, all right, doesn't have great framing, but he can hit. Okay, traded for Matt Thaiss, who is a fantastic backup catcher, right? Like he is a guy that walks a ton and has good glove. But you're like, done after like 2 months. And like, there's no way that you talked yourself into that guy. And then that some sample size that you saw, you were like, I'm out. Like, there's no way that Renee Pinto was a 100 inning or 100 game catcher and then cut like 20 days later. Like, there's no way that you are all in on one guy and then I don't know. I would like to see them just be like, oh, we traded for Nick Fortes because his glove is truly spectacular, right? He doesn't hit, but like he is one of the best defensive catchers in baseball. He grades out like as almost a 2-win player with a terrible bat just behind the plate. And okay, cool, love it. You traded for Hunter Fiducia, who has potential, like a lot of potential. Like he's blocked at the major league level by Will Smith. Cool. If you then go around and be like, all right, Blake Sable instead of Hunter Fiducia, then I'm like, what did you learn?
Sable. I do think Dominic Keegan could potentially play his way on the team. And it would
that
probably
one,
be
okay.
for Nick Fortes at that point.
That one I'm okay with.
Yeah.
That is actually, honestly, that's the only one I'm okay with because that's a guy that you've developed.
Logan Driscoll, I mean, didn't play at all last year. Levens and Piper aren't big league guys. Those are just you need a lot of catchers in camp. Like you need to be able to play the innings.
Right. I like those guys. I like Tatum Levens is kind of an interesting guy. Kenny Piper's really interesting. But like if you thought they were interesting, you don't do that other trade.
Mm-hmm.
To me, you had Matt Theis, and that's fine for the second half. You went out and traded for Hunter Fiducia because he is a legit prospect. Like he is a legit catcher prospect. And I could see Fiducia and Keegan, because those are two guys who have prospect shine that hit from two sides of the plate. But anything other than that, and I'm just again questioning like
what are we doing?
The process that led you to here.
Yeah. Other position players, a lot of these guys are internal. Cooper Kinney, Reinel Delgado. Actually, Reinel Delgado was a minor league free agent signing, I believe. Trey Morgan, Xavier Isaac, really excited to see both of those guys in camp. Mm-hmm. Gregory Barrios, Edward Olivares coming back from a short stint in Japan, played in 11 games for the Oryx Buffaloes last year. So he's back stateside in Rays camp. Pitchers, interesting names here. So some top Rays prospects, Brody Hopkins and Ty Johnson. Mm-hmm. We also have Logan Workman, who's been in the organization for a few years now. Some outside guys. We got Jake Woodford and Chase Selesky. I think those are some interesting names. Probably Cam Boozer, another pitcher, not the Duke player for future NBA lotto pick, but the lefty.
Son of Carlos Boozer.
Cam Boozer is an interesting left-handed pitcher, and probably out of the pitchers,
yes.
If there's a guy that's going to sneak in onto the roster, because you look at the lefties in the bullpen right now, and it's just Clevenger.
Just Clevenger.
So if you wanted to carry two, or if you wanted to, I don't know, trade Clevenger, or if he got hurt, you do want a lefty in the bullpen. You've got Steven Matz, who we said might play a bit of a hybrid role, Annie and Seymour, and Joe Rock, guys that might pitch out of the bullpen for the Rays this year. Yeah. But Boozer does seem more of like a lefty special, if there is any such thing as a lefty specialist these days. Boozer does seem like a guy who could have a role.
And good numbers with Boston. Like he did not do as well with the Pale Sox, but with the Red Sox, he'll
pitch in the big leagues for somebody this year.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a left-handed person and your arm is still attached.
You'll get a shot.
You're gonna get some chances. Yeah.
So I mean, we're gonna see a lot of these guys. You're gonna see guys you've never heard of. There's gonna be guys not on this list that get called up to the big league team to just make up the innings. Austin Vernon, Trevor Martin, Luis Guerrero, Andrew Wentz, Cody Whitley, another guy named John Rooney who's injured but in camp. So plenty of options for spring training. I've said on the show, I'm not like I love spring training. Like the first 2 days, I'll watch the games, and then like the rest of spring training, like one, the games are on when I'm at work. Two, I'll just read up on what's going on at spring training. I like reading coverage on D-Rays Bay from Rays spring training. And then World Baseball Classic will happen, so the Rays will lose a number of guys. to that. We'll probably do like a full World Baseball Classic Rays preview, Rays centric preview. We get a little bit closer to the start of that tournament, but there are plenty of Rays participating. Any other final thoughts on what to look forward to going into spring training, Darby?
Just nice to see that. Like, I think the biggest thing for me is outfield and pitching. Not so much rotation. Like, there's some rotation battles that are interesting there, but like the bullpen with the Rays is always exciting because there's always a couple spots that are absolute jump balls. And they bring in so many interesting guys who are either minor leaguers, non-roster invitees, spring camp invitees. Like, you can absolutely make a name for yourself, carve out a role with a good spring in the pen.
Yeah.
And that is always something what I like to look at and kind of keep monitoring, because guys that we talked about that are not part of like the major league rotation right now, or the bullpen right now, are guys like Mason Engler pitched a lot last year, Kevin Kelly pitched a lot last year. Like, there is some real, like, it's a deep pen right now. The people that are in the major leagues, if you penciled them in on roster resource right now, pretty darn good, but that's going to be the most influx.
Yeah.
And I think the outfield is a much more exciting group with some much more like interesting outcomes. So those are the two areas that I'm just the most excited to see. And then I don't know, just hope everybody stays healthy. That's
Yeah, health is the biggest thing. So we'll see. We'll have more news from spring training as we go along. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of Raise Your Voice. I want to thank you to all of our listeners. We've been live on youtube.com/@Raise Your Voice, and also available wherever you get your podcast. But if you've been watching along on YouTube and you haven't already, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on those notifications so you can join us whenever we go live. And also, if you love what we do here on Raise Your Voice and you want to become a Raise Your Voice Patreon member, you can do so for as little as $1 a month. There's a link here on the screen, or you can also go to patreon.com/Raise Your Voice. As always, make sure to head on over to draysbay.com to check out all of that great Rays coverage. Once again, thank you guys for